So next up, part B of compound interest. We want to take a look at a situation where we are compounding during periods something different than just in years or annually. So now we're going to take a look at quarterly and semi-annually, which is twice a year. And so this will be problems 5 through 8. I will go ahead and work through problem 5 with you so you can see how this works out. So once again, the compounding refers to how often we apply the formula I equals PRT, simple interest formula. And time is how many years that we want to apply this compounding period. So in this first example here, we're going to do it just for 1 year. But if we're doing it quarterly, you have to ask yourself how many quarters in a year. And I hear you say 4 quarters in a year. That is correct. So that means then we have to compound it 4 times. So it's going to be 4 compounding periods. Remember, it's not 4 years. It's 4 compounding periods quarterly for 1 year, which means 4 quarters equals 1 year. So we'll have to apply this formula 4 times in order to calculate the account balance and the compound interest amount. In order to do that, we've got to calculate the interest. So let's go ahead and put in the information we need. There's our $5,000 at a rate of 8% per year. Now, this is where we need to pay attention to this because this rate is a yearly rate, 8% per year, but we're going to be compounding every quarter. So we are going to have to adjust that rate and make it a compounding rate based on our compounding periods, which is 4. Quarterly is 4 times. So we're going to have to divide that interest rate by 4 in order to have the appropriate compound interest rate. Otherwise, our numbers will be huge, much more than is realistic here, because this is an annual percentage rate. So instead of putting in 0.08, we're going to have to divide it by 4, so it will be equal sign. Take that yearly rate, divide it by the number of times that we're going to be compounding per year, which in this case is 4. And then we've adjusted that factor. And then we can keep our time at 1. Now we could have went through and actually adjusted the amount of time to a quarter of a year and left the interest rate at 8%. We could have done that and come up with the same answer, but we're going to go ahead and do it by adjusting the interest rate. We've got to do it to one of them, and we're going to do it to our interest rate. So now we can calculate the interest for 1 quarter, or 3 months. Principal times rate times our time. And account balance, once again, is the principal plus the interest. And then the compounded interest amount for the first period, we'll just simply click on that interest amount. Now we need to do it 3 more times. So, remember, the new principal is going to be the previous account balance. Now the interest rate is going to stay the same. The time is going to stay the same. This formula here will be the same, but we do need a formula here because it won't be the same. So what we're going to do is we'll start there and put in the previous amount plus the new interest that we haven't calculated yet. We'll get to that in just a minute here. But now that we have all of these formulas in, we can save some time by using the copy or fill handle, and we'll expedite the calculations here. So you can imagine, if we start doing this for 5 years, 5 times 4, we'd have to go down here to 20 periods. But because of the magic of Excel and that we've put all these references in, and here's a double check, make sure you got a formula there that looks like that. And the account balance formula is going to be the same, which is principal plus interest, so we can copy that one. Time and rate will stay the same. That's going to be our formula every time. And then our simple interest formula will be the same every time. So now, because it's going to be the same, we can simply come here and grab that copy handle right there. And we want 4 periods. So we're going to copy it down to the 4th period. Copy this one down to the 4th period. And pretty soon we're going to see some numbers start filling in here. Magic. It's going to happen. Here we go. Oh, I see some changes. There we go. And one more. We should have it complete. There we go. So there's our interest calculations. And if you want, you can just double check to make sure. Yep, that formula looks good. That one's the same. These here we just copied. Principal plus interest looks good. And previous interest amount accumulated plus the new interest amount, and that looks good. So there you go. So the answer to this problem then, finding the account balance and compounded interest given this information, compounding for quarterly for 1 year, the account balance should be $5,412.16, and the compound interest amount $412.16. And let's go ahead and check our answer. Make sure account balance at the end minus the beginning principal. Hey, they're the same. That's good. That's what we want to see. Now, what's great about this is that if indeed this problem changed and I said, well, time and year is actually now we're going to make it, I want you to find it for 5 years. How much work is that going to be? Well, 5 years, 4 quarters, that's going to be down to 20 periods. So all we would have to do is just take these and go ahead and try this. Copy that all the way down. This formula, copy it all the way down. Same interest rate. Oops. Make sure you get that handle right on there. It turns to a black cross. There. And here. And you will see that at the end of 5 years, compounding quarterly, 4 times a year will give you 20 periods, that the amount of money you started with $5,000, at the end of those 5 years, you would have a total amount of $7,429.74, and you would have earned $2,429.74 in interest, calculated at 8% and compounding quarterly. Check our arithmetic here. Ending balance minus the beginning principal, and those numbers agree. So if everything looks great, you feel like you understand it, go ahead and move on and complete problems 6, 7, and 8.